as strong as it was on the first day.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into this new video on our channel, Worth the Wait. As Brandon mentioned in his video, we decided to take a quick detour from the courtship series and speak to you one-on-one about who we are and how did we even get to this point in our lives. Don't mind me with my blanket. I figured I could be as comfortable as possible with you guys as I'm about to share. I know personally a lot of people look at me today and either think I have it all together in my relationship with God or I'm a total Jesus freak. And the second one is fine, but as to the first one, I didn't just wake up and be crazy about God the way that I am today. I'm a sinner just like everyone else, and I've been on a journey. There's so much to my story, and today I'm going to just share the broader picture of what has taken place in my life in hopes that it can inspire and help someone else too. As I mentioned before in a previous video, I grew up in the church, and by that I mean that my mother made it her duty to teach me about Christ and have me actively involved in the church. Weekly family worship and faithful church attendance was crucial in our home. Because of this and several other factors, I guess you can say that I also had a very overprotective childhood. My mother was extremely protective of my sister and I. There were many things that I was not allowed to do and places I was permitted to go. All of my main activities were always in the church. I can vividly remember one instance where a friend in junior high school was having a birthday party and I got invited to go. And my mother took one look at the invitation and said no. But I begged and I pleaded with her every day because all of my friends were going and they would talk about it every day in school, and I really wanted to go. I'd never been to a party before and I was excited to see what it was all about. So she gave in one day, or so I thought, and when I asked her if I would be allowed to go if I found transportation there and back, and she said yes, I got so excited that I tried my best and I successfully found a safe ride, and I started picking out my outfit thinking I was gonna go. The day of the party came and my mom still held her ground and I wasn't allowed to go. I was so upset and disappointed. I couldn't understand why things were always so sheltered and overprotective. What was so wrong with the things I wanted to do? I didn't realize it at the time, of course, and it was going to take a long road of experiences to learn the real lesson, but my mother was simply seeking to spiritually guard me. As I got older, I became more curious about the things I wasn't allowed to do, particularly because I was often surrounded by other kids who were allowed to do them, and they would talk about them in such a fun and intriguing way that I wanted to see what it was all about. I wasn't always given explicit explanations for why I couldn't do certain things, and I'm pretty sure other people, if you're from a West Indian household, then you understand what I'm talking about. A simple no from my mother did not satisfy my curiosity. Eventually, I began to desire to explore these things on my own terms when I got access to more freedom. During my time in high school and the beginning of college, a shift took place in my life. Gone was the goody two-shoe church girl, and out came someone who was less reserved and inhibited about the things she chose to do. Someone I soon wouldn't be able to recognize. I started partying frequently, going to clubs, dressing very provocatively. Cursing became a part of my vocabulary. I gave into the pressure of drinking a few times. I had anger and temper issues, and I was also involved in an unequally yoked relationship that I tried to keep a secret, especially from my mom. Looking back now, I'm sure it became very hard for anyone to be able to recognize me as a Christian, to be able to see me as someone who professed to love God and follow the footsteps of Jesus Christ. I knew that God was not the center of my life, and a small part of me always wanted to do better and make some changes. I would start attempting to read my Bible more often or try to attend church, but for some reason I didn't stick with these decisions for very long, and it didn't take root in my life. Fast forward to the ending of my freshman year of college, I went back home, and the decisions I had been making for the past 4 to 5 years of my life were no longer sitting well with me. My conscience started to bother me more in a way that I had never paid attention to before, and I started to feel shameful, uncomfortable, and uncertain. The parties didn't seem fun anymore. The looks men would give me when I would wear certain clothing began to disturb me, and I recognized that I had been measuring myself by doing what everyone else around me was doing, but somehow I still felt dissatisfied and unhappy. I mean, I was able to explore the things that I was curious about, all this time, but I still wasn't happy. First, I started to question God's existence because it didn't make sense to me how I wasn't fully content in my life. And then I started to second guess a lot of the things I was doing or desired. And I wondered if my life was lining up accordingly with how I wanted others to see me. Once again, I decided to give another attempt at faithfully reading my Bible every day. And surprisingly, this time it was different. And I began to read with open eyes. Verses such as, "Why call me Lord, Lord, and you don't do the things that I say?" From Luke 6:46, it began to pierce my heart, and I could picture Jesus standing in front of me and asking me that question, and it made me consider whether I was truly obeying God in my life. Now, although I began to experience a change of heart, I won't pretend that I was fully saved at this point. God was working on me. I was still somewhat doing what I wanted, but my desire to open up my heart and truly see things in a different way was starting to take root. A few weeks after I was home from college, a nightly crusade was starting at my local church, and I decided to attend. On the very first night, I will never forget what the pastor preached about. As he was finishing his sermon on how Satan desires to distract us until it's too late, he began to tell a story of two animals that have been trying to act different than what they actually were. I can't promise I remember every detail of the story, but what I remember is that at the end of it, he said, "If you're going to be a duck, be a duck. Don't try to be anything else." Basically, he was saying that if you're going to be a Christian, be a Christian. If you're going to love the world, love the world. You can't do both because they can't mix with each other, and no one can serve two masters. I'm pretty sure I had heard several sermons like this before, but in this moment, I actually realized my sinfulness and rebellious ways. I was trying to show that I could be a Christian and still be cool, but inevitably, God wasn't asking me to do that. He wanted me to choose to follow Him. I realized that with every choice I made, I was only seeking to please everyone else around me and not God. At the appeal that night, I decided with my whole heart I was going to be a Christian. I stopped caring what others would think of me if I didn't do certain things anymore. I didn't care to be curious anymore. I wanted to give my life to Jesus and mean it for the rest of my life. I wanted people to look at me and recognize that there was something different about me, and that the difference was Jesus Christ. And since I made that choice that night in July 2011, God, through His grace and His mercy, He's equipped me to stand firm in this decision and to help me surrender my life to Him. I'm not perfect, and I certainly don't have it all together. I still struggle, but I have Jesus, and I know that each day He's promised to help me keep growing and improving more than the day before. I have this unexplainable joy and assurance because of Jesus. Sometimes I could just break out in a huge smile or a song because I truly feel at peace with the choice to surrender every single thing in my life to God. Ultimately, today, I just wanted to share with you that I lived a double life for a very long time, and I always thought that things were okay with my relationship with God. But now that I know Him on a deeper and personal level, I realize that when you love someone, you really want to show that person how much you love them with your whole heart. So with love comes action, and if I love God, I need to show Him through my actions how much I love Him. And God is asking for you to do the same today. If you can relate to what I've shared on this video, if you can relate to some of my story, And if you love God, turn to Him and ask Him to help you to show Him that you love Him each day. I truly hope that you were blessed by this video. I really appreciate you taking the time out to watch and to tune into what Brandon and I desire to share with you. And above all, I'm always praying for you guys. So thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe, comment, rate,